And starting recording. There it is, and it didn't go away this time.
Perfect.
About that. Okay. All right. Are you ready? Here I
I'm
go.
okay.
You're ready. That means you're ready, right?
I'm ready. Yep.
Okay. I'm I'm gonna put this on hold for a second. Good morning, Sheila. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing very well, Wayne. How are you this morning?
I am doing great. Thank you for being here. Oh my goodness. It's so fun to talk to you every Thursday. This is just
I agree. I feel the same way. Thank you.
and welcome everyone to 27 Minutes with Sheila and Wayne, where we talk about skills that have been learned, forgotten, misused, and or totally abandoned as we are attempting to change the world one verb at a time. And Sheila, what is our verb for today?
Today's verb, a simple word, is to walk. And I've got a quick definition and then a trivia question, and I hope you have one as well. The definition is to move at a regular pace by lifting and setting down each foot in turn, never having both feet off the ground at once. Very
Oh,
simple.
ooh, okay. And what's your trivia question?
And I'll answer this at the end of the show, but the question is, in what place do the citizens walk the most per day?
Ooh. Are we talking a city or are we talking a country?
Well, it's a country.
Okay, a country. Okay. All right. And you know what? I have a plethora of definitions to walk.
Oh, let's hear them. Do you have a trivia question also?
I do.
Oh, good. Okay.
And my trivia question, I'll say that first, is who was the last person to walk on the moon?
Oh,
Oh, and I know that's a Google away, so that's okay.
I won't Google.
But
I don't cheat.
oh, okay,
I
and I will.
accidentally give the answers, but I don't cheat.
But it was great that you gave that answer because I'm like, wow, that's really cool. Yes, which testifies to what my friends say that you make me sound good, and that's okay.
Well,
I'll take it however I can get it.
well, let's hear your many definitions of to walk.
Okay, it's to go with someone to a particular place, to take an animal for a walk, which you and Zeke do daily,
Several times a day.
to not be charged with a crime or to be allowed to leave a court after being found not guilty of a crime,
Oh,
to suddenly leave a job or other situation because you have not been given what you want.
okay.
That's to walk. To pass or win something, such as an exam or game easily, like a
Oh,
cakewalk. Ooh, that was a cakewalk.
oh, cake. I love cakewalks.
Yes, me too. I love cake too.
I do. That's why I love cakewalks.
See, now those two words can always be together, right? Cakewalk.
And they make you smile, make me smile. I should
Yeah, unlike
speak
those
for
other two
myself.
words we talked about, the fun run. That's those two
No,
words
no,
not to be
oh,
together.
come on, fun run.
And
Really?
another one I have is to take something without asking. Ooh.
Oh, mm,
And another one I have here is to practice something or to show someone how to do something from beginning to end, like a walkthrough.
ah, oh
Aha.
yeah, like a realtor. Yeah.
Exactly. Or like an exercise when I was in the military, we used to do exercises all the time, and we would have walkthroughs and say, okay,
Mm,
this is going to happen, and this when this happens, and this time, and this is the start time, this is the end time, and this is where we're supposed to end. We always did walkthroughs. It was kind of fun.
okay.
So planning structures, but I'll get more into that as we get into the meat of our
Yes.
um, talk of walk today.
Good.
And Sheila, where can our listeners find you? Email
I'm
you?
kind of embarrassed. Yep.
It's still under construction?
Well, the service company that I used to set up that email account said I needed to renew it. So I said, fine, I'll renew it. But then it wanted my login and password, but it didn't like the login and password I had saved. And so then it wanted, many, many, many more pieces of information.
Oh, I understand. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, how about your website? Can they?
ZekeandSheila.com.
There we go.
Thank you.
And again, as you said before, if there's any complaints or bad things that
Then
they want to
they
say, they can
contact
send it
you
to
at your
me.
website. Right, ready.
And my email address is wayne@mindsyncing.com. And my website is www.mindsyncing.com. And that's MINDSYNCING.com. So
Thank you
yes,
for doing the heavy lifting, Wayne.
you know what? I have broad shoulders. I can certainly do the heavy
Okay,
lifting. Yes.
excellent. Good, good.
Okay.
Well, I have some quotes about walking. Can I
Oh, go
start
ahead.
out with a couple of those first?
Please do.
Okay. First of all, Stephen Wright said, "Everywhere is walking distance if you have the time."
Oh,
And
okay.
Stanislaw Lek said, "He who limps is still walking." And
Ah,
Jacqueline Schiff said, "The best remedy for a short temper is a long walk." I like that. And
I
then
like
Noel
that.
Coward. I normally do only 3 quotes, but I've got 5
You
today.
got
So Noel
five
Coward,
today.
I
All
do.
right.
Noel Coward said, "I like long walks, especially when they are taken by people who annoy me." And the last one, I can't find who said it first, but I say it frequently, and that is, you don't take your dog for a walk, you take your dog's nose for a walk.
Ah, yeah, because they're always sniffing, aren't
Ah,
they?
and they love that. So
They
yes.
do. Yes. All
Yes.
right.
Okay.
Okay. And you know what? You're the one who really peruses the internet and papers and books or things to get articles. Um,
Yes.
serendipitously,
Hmm,
oh, there's a word
that's
for
a
me.
good one. Yeah.
Yes. I was perusing the internet this morning because, and this coincides with our verb of last week, which was
Oh,
inject with Steve Smith.
yeah,
Remember?
that was fun. Yes.
Yes. So I was looking to see if I could inject anything else into the little notes that I have written down here
Hmm.
that would be of interest to our listeners. And lo and behold, a first happened for me today.
Oh.
And we've been doing this for a year and 2 months already.
Hmm.
But this has never ever happened to me.
Okay.
So I said, is this coincidental? Is this something going on? But
Mm,
or is this just luck and it just serendipitously showed up as I was looking for something else? But
okay.
anyway, there was an article on walk, and
Okay.
and it's from today. What's that? Today.com. You know, the
Okay.
USA Today. So
Oh,
today.com,
okay.
and it was an article written by Sarah Jacoby, and she wrote this article 2 days ago, but it was on the internet and it was on the internet today.
Hmm.
And it says the title of the article is 10,000 steps a day is a fabricated goal, doctor says. Try
Uh,
walking this much instead.
oh.
And I said, "What?" And
Oh, it rocked your world.
I started reading this, and then I said, "Ooh, I wonder if Sheila found this."
I have heard that before, but I didn't see this article. So what was
Okay.
her recommendation for what your goal should be?
Well, his
Or
recommendation,
his,
she
excuse me.
she wrote the article, but he
Oh,
was
okay.
the doctor was he. And okay, so I'll give you little bites throughout
Oh, good.
today's
Okay. All
podcast.
right.
Okay,
Okay.
it says experts. She said experts generally agree that regular walking can be great exercise and can have benefits for body and mind, and you don't necessarily have to hit that 10,000 steps to get those. She says, in fact, Dr. Jordan Metzel, a sports medicine physician at the Hospital for Special Surgery, tells Today.com that the 10,000 steps goal actually comes from an ad campaign for an early pedometer ahead of the 1964 Tokyo Olympics.
Wow.
So he says it's completely fabricated. It's a completely fabricated goal. Go
Well,
ahead. You
there you
sound like
have
you have
it.
some thoughts on that.
My personal goal is 12,000 steps a day. But the thing is, there's walking and there's walking. And when you're walking your dog, you're not exactly going at a healthy pace. You're starting and stopping and starting and stopping. If you're walking my dog, that is.
Okay.
But that is
Because of this
interesting.
because of the sniffer, huh?
Yep, yep, that's sniffer. But I still think that any walking has so many other benefits other than just, counting up steps on a pedometer. Um,
Like what?
well, for instance, I found several different categories. There's so much about walking. Walking in a work context, walking as a spiritual exercise, and walking as a creative exercise. And of course, a lot of these overlap. But just like you said, you just found that article on the internet in time for this broadcast. I ended up seeing a movie with some friends this week called
Oh,
Santiago, The Way of the Camino. I think that was the name of it. And several of my friends have walked on the Camino de Santiago, which is a pilgrimage of sorts, going from different places in Europe to a place in Spain where they believe that St. James's bones are buried. And
mm,
it's been a spiritual walk since the 10th century. So it's ancient, and they believe approximately 300,000 people a year walk on one of these paths towards Camino de Santiago. And so I talked with my friends who have done this, and many people end up doing it multiple times. And they said it was they described it as a personal challenge, um, exploring people and cultures, a spiritual challenge, a community building process, and definitely a blistering experience, as in
interesting.
foot blisters. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Sergeant, Sergeant, can't you see? Honey, honey, Sergeant, Sergeant, can't you see? Babe, babe.
Oh, dear.
Sergeant, Sergeant, can't you see that I have blisters on my feet?
Is that
When
a marching song?
that was a song that we used to sing when I was in basic training, yes.
Okay, because I was reading about hiking versus walking and marching versus walking. And so there you go. You
Okay.
can speak more to that than anyone.
And I like what you said about you were looking at walking as in forms of work. And
Hmm.
that's the path that I did eventually go down.
Okay.
And I said, how you can walk at work and still be productive.
You are a famous work walker.
I am. I love to I love to walk. And as I have said before, and I think this is where you're going. If you nail my shoes to
Hmm.
behind a podium
Hmm.
and put me in those shoes, I cannot talk
Hmm. Hmm.
because I am walking around. I'm inside, next to, behind, in front of the participants in the
Hmm.
auditorium,
Hmm.
and the stage and the podium is not my domain. No, thank you. But anyway, um, going to the work thing.
Yeah.
I loved to walk and talk. And what that means is when I would have meetings, sometimes there would be walks and talks.
Hmm.
And I did this for a couple of reasons because I read an article many, many, many years ago, and it was a guy in Japan who said that he would have meetings and he hated his meetings because they lasted so long
Hmm.
inside the building, and it was cold outside, and he just. It's cold outside. We're in this long meeting, and I got to go outside later and do stuff, and I don't want to do that because it's going to get colder as the day goes on.
Hmm.
Uh, and he said, and he found that people just loved to come to the meetings to hear themselves talk. Now,
Mm.
I'm
Yeah.
not sure. I'm not sure if that's prevalent around the world or the nation or just where he was.
Hmm.
But I kind of said, I think I've been in some of those meetings because I've heard some of those individuals. But here's the point that he made with that. He said he started to have his meetings as he was walking, and he would take the meetings outside, and they would walk outside to have the meeting.
Hmm.
And someone asked him, well, why would you do that? And he said, well, for a couple of reasons. Because those individuals who like to hear themselves talk, they did not talk as much because one, it was cold. They wanted to get back inside. And two, he said, I found that brevity failed the meeting because people would come with the information they were supposed to have, and when
Ah.
I would hit them, they would say the information that we needed to hear, and that was it. There was nothing else. There was no, no banter or no other kinds of things. They didn't hear. They just said, "Oh, the answer is such and such and such and such, and this is because of this, and these are the recommendations made by this group, and I'm done."
Short, sweet, and to the point.
He said the whole meeting was short, sweet, and to the point because people wanted to get back inside to get warm.
And if he wanted a really short meeting, he'd say, "And don't bring your coat."
And don't bring your coat. Yes. So I found that, hey, okay, I'm gonna try that. And walking and talking. And it was a good benefit because it was a good physical benefit because we were
Mhm.
getting exercise,
Mhm.
and because it made people kind of shorten their speech. And I'm sure people are talking or listening to the podcast saying, Wayne, you should be outside right now because you're speaking too much. But but walk and talk. And so I did that, and I liked it. I still like it. I still do that
Hmm.
sometimes.
On my list of walk at work, I have walking someone through the process, walking away, walking and talking, Wayne's walk. I have Wayne's walk. That's your walk. And walk like a boss.
Okay. All right, all right. And I was talking to a friend of mine, and she tells me that she likes to walk to clear her head, to clear her
Hmm.
thoughts,
Hmm.
because she sits in meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting, and she says all those meetings are all the things that they said are swirling in her head. So she just likes to kind of walk
Hmm.
and get through that. And she says she finds herself being very creative as she's walking.
Wayne, in 2014, there was actually a research study at Stanford that came up with that very same conclusion. They measured it, and I didn't write down the statistics, but they said that walking boosts creative thoughts, opens up a free flow of ideas, and unites the mind body connection.
Excellent.
So it's scientifically proven.
All right. I will tell her that.
Ooh,
there's
right.
there's empirical data that substantiates her
Exactly right.
thought process.
In
Good.
case she needed confirmation.
And this is something I would do. I used to write down in my schedule think time.
Hmm.
And during my think time, I would get out from behind my desk, out of the office, and I would walk either the corridors or I would go outside and walk, because if I was doing think time inside, there's so many distractions and disruptions, and people would come in and interrupt.
Hmm.
And I said, I got to get away,
Hmm.
because I'm just sitting there looking, staring across, and they say, oh, I didn't think you were doing anything. No, I'm thinking, but but come in and let's talk. So I started walking to do think time,
Hmm.
and I would take 10, 15 minutes, and that would be my think time. And I'm coming back, and people say, oh, it's a break. I go, no, I'm working. I'm thinking.
Hmm.
And that's exactly what I was doing. So I walked at work for think time.
Wait, many, many years ago, when it was a thing to have a smoke break during the workday,
Yes.
I would take my smoke break to take a walk. I don't smoke, but I would
Ah,
take a walk. I would call that my smoke break.
there you go.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And for the physical side, I said we could walk by taking the stairs instead of the elevator at
Good
work.
thinking. And
Yes.
park in the furthest parking spot.
Exactly. Exactly. And that goes, I'm going to go back to the article, okay,
Okay.
about um try walking this much instead. They
Hmm.
talked about, in fact, and I'm quoting again from the
Okay.
article,
Okay.
in fact, experts are encouraging activity snacks
Oh,
taken throughout the day rather than or in addition to getting all of your fitness in one high intensity class or long walk, for
okay.
instance. It says just moving around throughout the day is like the fire that keeps the metabolic furnace burning. And Dr. Jordan Metzel says, who's a sports medicine physician, says that it does that. And he says you can take these little small bites, sound bites. So again, walking down the stairs, up the stairs, as opposed to taking the elevator to go to the break room, or as you said, walking from the furthest spot in the parking lot to the building, and then having to go back. Those are small bites that continue to fuel that metabolic fire that we need. How
Great.
interesting is that?
I love that.
Yes. And how
And
about
your
you?
car doesn't get dinged as often when you're parked further away.
Really? Wow. I might have to try that. I have the welcome to the shopping mall, Wayne, marks on my car.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Welcome to the yes.
Okay. How
So
about you?
I was in addition to creative the creative process that was in my category of walking for personal gain, but going back to walking as a spiritual experience, one of the first thing that pops up is walking with God as different people define it. And there are many different pilgrimages around the world. There's the Muslim pilgrimage to the Hajj, or to Mecca, excuse me.
Uh-huh.
There's, as I mentioned, the most famous is Camino de Santiago, and even in the United States, there's the Appalachian Trail, which is not actually considered a spiritual experience. In the U.S., walking as a pilgrimage is not as well known as in Europe and some of the historical older communities, in part because sometimes a pilgrimage or spiritual walk has a destination of a holy place, and
Mm,
we have fewer of those here. But boy, we
yes.
have some beautiful places created by
Nature, man, everybody.
nature. Yeah, like
Yes.
a friend of mine left yesterday to go walk along the Grand Canyon. And
Ooh.
it turns out there's an eastern trail that goes from the lower tip of Florida to the upper tip of Newfoundland, all the way along the east coast of the United States.
No
And
kidding.
there's also a Pacific Northwest trail that I don't know as much about. So, and the difference, in case you're wondering, between walking and hiking on these is I found someone who actually made a definition. If it's 2 miles or less, it's a walk. If it's more than that, it's a hike. So there you have it. That's one person's definition that they managed to get on the internet.
I like that. Okay.
Okay.
Walking at work. I'm going to,
Yes.
the next thought that I had was walk to a colleague's workspace for discussion instead of sending
Oh.
emails or having telephone conversations.
Hmm.
And again, that kind of goes back to that snack time, those little snacks.
Snack
Um,
walks.
exactly. Snack walks. I like that. Snack walks. Wow. Is that a new word? Do I need to put that on our
Well, you have
list?
to define it because I would say, oh, walk to the snacks.
Okay. And getting back to the article,
Yes.
and mind you, and I'm talking to our listeners now, mind you, I'm not a doctor of medicine, so I'm not saying that this is what you should do or could do, but I'm just suggesting that I'm just giving the facts from this one article that
Hmm.
says, 10,000 steps might just be an arbitrary number, and it may not be as beneficial as you think, because they said at some point they have found, these guys and ladies in sports medicine, that the number of steps further than X, what that is, leaning towards the 10,000 or 12,000 steps, could just be extra steps that you're taking with no more added benefit.
What?
I know, right? Yes. And so what they say is, when finding the right type of exercise, there's no one size that fits all.
Um,
As long as it's something that you enjoy enough to do it consistently, he says. And the holy grail of fitness in my world is compliance, Metzel explains. It doesn't matter if you're a yoga or a biker or a walker or a swimmer. We know that people will be the most compliant with something they are smiling about doing.
hmm. Hmm.
And I said, that makes sense. It really does.
Hmm.
And as I'm looking at the clock, it says 22:47. So we have time,
Okay.
but we're getting nearing the end. These 27 minutes go so fast.
Yes, they really do. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So how about you? What's next?
I wanted to
What's
just say that the suburbs are built in a way that does not facilitate walking. And that's been a real problem in society because there's so many dead ends and cul-de-sacs as opposed to being able to really get some mileage in, although mileage may not be the ultimate goal. Maybe sauntering is the ultimate goal. I don't know. I have to wait till I hear what your answer is on that one. The other
okay?
thing I want to mention, walking in terms of work, is walking like a boss, and that's coming in, squaring your shoulders and raising your posture and walking with confidence. And sometimes, even if you're walking into a party or something, and you want to walk and you maybe don't know anybody, one way to do that is walk in as if you are the host, even if you're not, and just it gives you more confidence to go up and talk to people and say, "Hi, good to see you." So
I like
there's an internal mindset in how to walk
okay.
like a boss. So,
In the last two quotes that I have from the article,
oh
and then
yes,
this article will be done for
okay,
me, for us
okay, okay,
today. It
all right.
says, if the number of steps in your tracker is what motivates you, then use that as a tool. He
Hmm.
says, if you prefer to focus on time, then throw on a podcast that lasts for the number of minutes you're shooting for. And so if you're looking for a 27-minute
That
walk,
is our show.
that's our
That's right.
show.
All
Exactly.
right.
You can listen to one episode of our show. And
Oh
the last
yeah.
thing he says is, but it's still important to remember that the right amount of steps to aim for in a day may be different from person to
Mm.
person, and you don't need to push your body to hit an arbitrary goal.
I was hoping you would give the magic answer.
Ah, remember he said there's no one size that fits
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. All
And
right.
and I don't want to be the one that says, "Oh yeah, you have to if you walk 3,000 steps, you're good. Nope, not going to do that.
How about 10 steps? Is
Well,
that good?
in the article, it was suggested that somewhere between 4 and 10 was the number that most people can really
Yeah,
hit and
I'm
do well.
thinking you're saying 4,000 and
4,000.
10,000, correct?
Yes, 4,000
I
and
was kind of
10,000.
hoping
Thank
on
you.
4 actual
Yeah.
steps. So,
Yes, 4,000 and 10,000.
okay.
See, you're making me look good again. Thank you. I appreciate that. People say,
Well,
yeah,
our
Wayne said we could just walk 4 steps and we're good. No,
that would
no.
that would be it. Dr. Wayne, yeah. Hey, so are we getting close to where we have to answer our trivia questions?
We are. So
Okay.
let's go ahead and do that.
Okay. So my trivia question to remind you was, what place do citizens walk the most? And the reason I had a hard time with saying country or city is it's China, but more specifically Hong Kong. And it's a very dense population, and so walking is more effective than riding public transportation or cars. So that's why they get so many steps in.
I see.
Yeah.
And the answer to my trivia question, for those of you who haven't Googled it yet, is the question was, who was the last person to walk on the moon? Right. It was Eugene Cerna in December of 1972 on the Apollo 17 mission.
Thank you.
And another question that comes off of that is, how many people actually walked on the moon? And the answer is 12.
But how many steps did they take?
Ooh, there you go. One last thing I would say on the job walk that I kind of looked around is we also want to walk around as leaders, as bosses, we want to walk around to take the pulse of the organization.
Good thinking.
Engage with individuals, see what they're doing, just kind of talk with them, joke with them, chat with them. Since the water cooler's gone, we don't have those water cooler chats anymore. This is a good way to do that.
Well, thank you, Wayne. That's a really great note to end this podcast on.
Oh, okay. Well, and since we're at 27 minutes right now,
perfect.
Would you wrap us up then, please?
We want to thank everybody who listened to us and who gives us ideas, those who give us ideas for more verbs, and we appreciate you.
And thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week. Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Thanks, Sheila. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Wayne.